Boy, never seen so many grown men stand around a circle talking about their tingles before. Spider-Man No Way Home, released in 2021 and is directed by John Watts, who is also behind such films like Cop Car, Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, and the TBA release of the MCU version of the Fantastic Four. Yeah, this guy's been all over the MCU, and thank God, because his films pretty much kill it every single time. And this movie is starring Tom Holland, Zendaya, Jacob Batalon, Marissa Tomei, Jamie Foxx, Alfred Molina, Willem Dafoe, and Benedict Cumberbatch. And I think we're gonna call it quits on the Edith glasses, because just like my predictions for this movie, Edith really doesn't play a part in this movie at all. Mysterio has just revealed the true identity of Spider-Man, and that of course is Peter Parker. And this unwanted popularity is affecting his everyday life and the life of his two best friends. So in a way to erase everything, Peter Parker seeks the help of Sorcerer Supreme Doctor Strange to cast a spell over the entire world so that everyone forgets that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. But in typical Doctor Strange comic book fashion, things go awry during the spell, and not only does it not work, it has also brought several different familiar villain faces to this world. So the entire movie is Peter Parker trying to make sense of everything that is going on in the world, and he's also trying to round up all of these villains so that he can send them all home back to their own reality. And I'm not going to spoil anything. This film came out last week, so I know many people out there have not gotten a chance to see it, or maybe some of you are still hesitant about going in public and going to the movie theater, which I totally understand. So out of respect for you, I'm not going to spoil all of the great things and hidden stuff that happens in here, even though if you kind of use your brain, you have to figure, well, I'm sure something is going to show up that you just have to happen. Basically, this movie is frickin' fantastic is what I'm trying to say. So over the month of December, I have been going back and reviewing all of the Spider-Man films that I have missed, with Venom Let There Be Carnage, the Amazing Spider-Man films, and the Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man films. And before I saw this movie, I had a firm stance that Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker and Spider-Man was my favorite Spider-Man and Peter Parker, because he had a great melding of the fun, lighthearted, comedic side of Peter Parker and Spider-Man that everyone nowadays tends to love and really focus on, but he also captured the burden and the darkness and the curse that the powers of Spider-Man is in his film. And still, a lot of people forget about how dark of a character Spider-Man is, because being Spider-Man, there is a burden, there is a curse that is on your shoulders, because however it happens, whoever knows whoever Spider-Man is, the people that know and the people that love Peter Parker and Spider-Man, or hell, even Miles Morales or whoever the Spider-Man is, they tend to always end up paying the price or getting hurt. And that was my main criticism of the Tom Holland Peter Parker Spider-Man so far in the MCU. We haven't really gotten to see that darker side of Peter Parker, or Peter Parker struggling through life, whether it's with poverty, or whether it's through relationships, or trying to balance everything. No, he pretty much has it all figured out, and he's just a kind of a cool kid going through school, and he's with the Avengers. He's got everything pretty much figured out. This movie, though, fixes that issue for me. This movie fully embraces the pain, the burden, and the curse of being Spider-Man, and it is the best representation of the most famous Spider-Man line that has ever been written: with great power comes great responsibility. This movie is the embodiment of that line, and it's amazing. This movie has everything that you ever wanted in a Spider-Man film. It has laughs, it has quirky, cute little teenage love, it has a lot of heartbreak, a lot of pain, and a lot of just, oh no, I don't want you to make that choice, but I understand, and I kind of do want you to make that choice, but I don't want you to make that choice because it's just so freaking sad. All of that mythos, all of that burden of being Spider-Man is in this movie, and it brought so many tears to my eyes. And everyone brings their A-game in this film. Jacob Batalon, who is always a great comedic relief in all of these films, he has some great comedic moments and a lot of heartfelt moments as well. Zendaya was a surprise standout. She hasn't gotten a lot of things to do in the previous two Spider-Man films, but here there is a whole range, there is a whole arc for her character, and I love it, and I want to see her continue. And then we have the sprinkling of all of these different MCU characters and all of these different Spider-Man villains that we have seen in previous franchises. But they're all here to serve a purpose. It's not just like, hey, here's something cool, because, you know, everyone likes to see this type of stuff, so here it is. I mean, it's also the reason why these villains are here, because it's really cool for us audiences to see it, but they do serve a purpose in this entire storyline. I'll always never not be happy to see Benedict Cumberbatch on screen as Doctor Strange, and at first in the trailers I thought, there's something suspicious going on with Doctor Strange in here. Are we fighting him? Is he the main baddie here? Maybe a small little spoiler alert. No, he's not the main baddie. All of these villains that are coming through the portals that we've seen before, they are the major villains of the film, so thank God. And the thing about the previous Spider-Man films is that really all of the characters, the villains in those movies, end up being killed by Spider-Man, or by some type of action that Spider-Man did. So in this movie, it's nice to see all of that get rectified, and for all of those wrongs, the murderings and all that stuff, get fixed and get reversed a little bit. Basically, if you had any criticism, or if you didn't like anything about the previous Spider-Man films, I know there are a lot of people out there that didn't like the Amazing Spider-Man dual movies, all of it, everyone, is redeemed here. Alfred Molina is great as Doc Ock. Jamie Foxx finally has some solid stuff to work from in this script, and he's not just carbon copying Jim Carrey from Batman Forever. And probably the biggest standout out of everyone is the return of Willem Dafoe as the Green Frickin' Goblin. He went hard in the first Spider-Man movie. He is 100 times worse in this film, and he is frickin' great. He was a great villain then, and it's only amplified in this movie. He is so evil. He does so many drastic, dirty, disgusting things in here, and it's like, you don't want to see that stuff happen, but in terms of, like, him developing his evil character, his villainous character, and also getting to see his face as the Green Goblin, because he has such a weird, strange, evil face, it's awesome to see it. And this movie also has a great score from Michael Giacchino, who has also scored the previous Spider-Man films and Doctor Strange, so we got to see his theme along in here too. But this is kind of unlike a Giacchino score that I've heard recently in the MCU. This is a very somber score. It's a very sad score, and it also pays tribute to the previous themes of the Spider-Man films, because, you know, we're getting all of those villains in this film as well, so it's nice to hear those other Spider-Man themes in this score as well. I just love it when a composer pays tribute to previous composers in a franchise. It's freaking great. And of course, I do have to talk about Tom Holland as Peter Parker in Spider-Man. I've loved him in the previous two films, but like I said before, his character just wasn't given those really big depths and the burden that Peter Parker is supposed to have in this mythos, this whole curse of being Spider-Man. And it's here, and he plays it beautifully, brilliantly, and he has solidified himself as my favorite Peter Parker in Spider-Man. This movie did it for him. The way he's able to bounce back and forth with his comedic timing, but then also just the sorrow and the pain just from looking at him in certain scenes, and you just feel for this guy. There's not a bone in my body that's like, I don't care at all about you, Tom Holland, Peter Parker. Of course I care. We all care. He has solidified himself as the new heart, the new soul of the MCU, which is really fitting, because without Tom Holland, this movie never would have happened, because I don't know if you remember, but for like 2-3 weeks in 2019, Spider-Man was out of the MCU, and Sony was like, we're gonna do our own things, because that has served us well in the past before. Tom Holland talked to Bob Iger over the phone after getting drunk at a pub, and just declared his love for Spider-Man, and that just opened the floodgates to the powers that be coming to a new deal and keeping Spider-Man in the MCU, and we're gonna see him for multiple films to come. And I'm so happy, because Tom Holland's Peter Parker is Peter Parker. This is the reason why you go to the movies to see superhero films. It's a character like this, it's a performance like this, it's a story like this that brings you everything. It brings you laughs, it brings you love, it brings you pain, it brings you sorrow, and mixing it all into this beautiful combination of a film that No Way Home is. This film is fantastic. It is one of the best of this year. It's one of the best of the MCU. I know I released my ranking of all the Spider-Man films last week because I hadn't gotten around to see this film at the time of that recording, but after watching this, and I don't feel like I'm in a honeymoon stage right now, I genuinely feel like this. This is my favorite live-action Spider-Man film. I'd probably put it at number 2, just underneath Into the Spider-Verse. It's a toss-up between those movies, though. I mean, both of them are just so freaking amazing. I could see some people saying that the somberness and the serious tone of the score, and how even the script in the first act and a half, it's a little slow, maybe a little clunky, but if you stick around till the third act, it all pays off and it's all worth it. I'm gonna give Spider-Man No Way Home 4.5 out of 5 Blu-ray.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
Alright everyone, that is my final movie review of the year 2021. What a way to go out with Spider-Man No Way Home. I got a bunch of ranking videos coming out next week, so go ahead and check those out. So were you able to see Spider-Man No Way Home? If you have, what did you think about it? Please comment below, let me know what you thought. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you the next time I release my next movie review. So everyone, I will see you next week with a bunch of ranking videos for the year 2021. But in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.